Okay, welcome to your VTS discussion at home this week. Let's go ahead and get started and take a look at what our artwork is going to be that we're going to look at this week. Here it is, and it's a pretty busy piece of artwork. So we're going to look at some of the things. Let's kind of gaze around here and see things we can find. We'll start right over here. We have this building. What kind of a building is it? Because there's not a lot of symbolism on here except for this little window design. But out here, outside the building, we see all these ladies and other people dressed in a black with white underneath, which usually those are nuns, right? And we see some people in here. There's another man that looks kind of like a religious man, maybe a friar or something, and looks like they're praying. So this could very well be a religious facility like a church. And we see people out here. These people are pulling something. Um, Looks like these people are asking for things. And here's somebody. He has one hand in his pocket and another hand reaching out to him. So that he's likely giving them something. This lady, let's see, she has some beads here. So this is probably Catholic, right? Because we have nuns and the rosary here. We have here's a man that is missing some limbs and someone standing over him, clearly saying, hey, he needs some help here. So we traveled on around here. There's a bunch of people following this emaciated, old-looking individual on this cart who's holding a baker's paddle, right? So they're following them. There's somebody got a flag going. They're pulling, and then over here we have this person pulling another guy on a large barrel. These usually contained a wine or some kind of alcohol-related substance, and he's very fat versus her, very, 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 very thin, or him. And he's got a skewer here with a bunch of meats on it, even a pig's head looks like. And I don't think that's a dog because we got a pig here and it looks very similar. So pretty sure that's pig's head. This one has some fish on it. So we have meat here, like pork and things like that. And over here we have fish. Here we have somebody very fat. This person's very skinny. So we see some contrast here. This little cart has certain things on it, like some bread items, maybe some figs or something here. And this person has a huge keg. So we see some contrasting things here. Let's travel on. This person looks like he's stuffed his shirt here. He's pretty fat looking. These people have masks. And looks like they're gambling down here. She's doing some cooking. Don't know what she's cooking. We have a tent. Don't know what's going on with the tent. We have a lot of people coming out of this place, and we see some more kegs in front of it. See, this is one. Here's some more. So this is probably some type of alcohol in here. So this may be maybe some type of a tavern or something. And look, here's a little boat thing. And what is this? Looks a little similar, doesn't it? So anyway, that might be representative of that. Here's some more lame people, or people with some problems, and he's got no legs, so he's hobbling on those. And we got some more people doing some things back here. They're all surrounding this person, and it looks like he's drinking quite a bit of something, and somebody else is pouring stuff on him. Don't know if he knows. We got a procession coming down the middle of the street with a fire. These people look like these adults are having a pretty good time back here, playing Ring Around the Rosie. And he's playing some music maybe here, I guess. Yeah, it looks like he's playing a bagpipe. And we got some more people probably doing some gambling. These people, there's a broken pot. I mean, they got a couple more pots. I have no idea what they're doing. And here's some kids. They're playing with some little toys here. We got some more people coming out of I guess this would be a church maybe. And we have a lot of colors in here. It's very colorful. Um, very busy. So those are all things that you can use for your visual um, descriptions on your VTS notes. So we have a lot of contrast, it seems like almost like two opposite things are happening here. So let's see. We have a few pictures that are closer up. Here's the man on the keg and some other people. I don't know what this is about. They've got something in that hand and a bunch of some breads up here. And it looks like they're balancing a table on their head. I have no idea why they're doing that. Let's see. And here's the other side, a little bit closer that you can see. So we have, looks like a little child almost down there. Here's some of the food. We can see a little bit closer. Very, very skinny individual there. They need a sandwich. Okay. There's the top portion. You can see a little bit closer. I do not know what's happening here. Somebody's peeking out. Let's see. Yes, it's probably definitely a tavern or an inn. And maybe this one too. Not sure. Get a little bit closer, but it looks a little blurry. And here's the other side, up above the church. Let's see. She's cleaning some stuff. He has very good posture. And there's another picture of the entrance to the building. Let's lighten that up a little bit so we can see there's a lot of people in there actually. And look, there looks like a little offering plate or something. Yep. This looks like a crucifix on the ground almost. Okay, so let's talk about the facts. Okay, this is titled The Fight Between Carnival and Lent. Okay, so there's the contrast that we saw. It's because of this, Carnival versus Lent. And this is by a man named Peter Bruegel the Elder. That's how you say that. It's not Bruegel, it's Bruegel, like you're broiling something. And it was completed in 1559. Okay, so about 8 minutes in, so let's see if we can get through this pretty quick so you're not sitting here all evening. Okay, the artist behind this painting is Peter Bruegel, like we said, the Elder. The two main early sources that contain information about his life are, now I'm going to botch these names up here. Lodovico Guicciardini's account of the Low Countries in 1567. It was some things that he wrote. And another woman named Karen Van Manders in a book that she wrote and some articles in 1604. And I'm not going to try to say that word. The first guy, Guicciardini, recorded that Bruegel was born in Breda, we'll say Breda, in the Netherlands. But the woman, Manders, said that he was born in a village near Breda called Bruegel. We'll discuss this date of birth later. But the only problem with that is that Bruegel doesn't fit any known place. Nothing at all is known of his family background, and Mander assumes he came from a peasant background. His peasant genre scenes in his artwork seem to support this idea. So here is, over at the Netherlands, this is the area that he was from. You can get an idea of where that's at. And so he was born at the time of extensive change in Western Europe. There's a lot going on. Humanist ideals were floating around in art and education. Italy was at the end of its high Renaissance. That was the time when Michelangelo and Leonardo painted all their stuff. And Martin Luther had just 8 years before nailed his 95 Theses to the Catholic Church and began the Protestant Reformation. Iconoclasm was and widespread destruction of art was occurring due to the Reformation. So there's a lot of pieces that we don't have anymore because they were getting all destroyed at this time. And the Council of Trent was meeting and finally concluding in 1563, 6 years before this man died. Okay, and stating that religious art should be more focused on religious subject matter and not material decorative qualities. So, what a time to be living in. There's a lot going on. So, it is said that his nickname was Peasant Bruegel because he would often wear peasants' clothing and attend social gatherings and weddings of the peasant sort in order to mingle and interact with the locals and gain insight and inspiration for his paintings. This is one of his paintings. It's a peasant wedding. Looks pretty nice and cozy. I wouldn't mind going. Despite this, modern scholars of the last 60 years have formed a different opinion about Bruegel's social status. They're now emphasizing the intellectual content of his work, which you'll see that shortly. It's pretty cool. And they state that there is every reason to think that Peter Bruegel was a townsman, and a highly educated one, on friendly terms with the humanists of his time. Though it was a fact that he had not mastered Latin, okay, due to the fact that he had other people add Latin captions to his drawings. So even if he was part of a highly educated humanist circles, if he was part of those, his own education seemed to be lacking personally. He did, though, create many controversial and meaningful pieces, especially for this time period. Now here's a couple. The Blind Leading the Blind. A lot to say about this, right? And here's a couple of other ones that he made. So it was definitely a man that you can see that he always had a lot of things going on in his pictures, a lot of people. He filled them up usually, and had a lot of meaning in them, a lot of things he was wanting the viewer to look for and to find. So as you'll see, that's kind of a Where's Waldo of the artist. So as we know, most every artist studied under somebody, and which is a very true thing. Most of these artists, as we look through all this art history stuff, you'll notice they either studied under somebody or they studied somebody else's artwork and learned from it. His master, according to Van Mander, was the Antwerp painter by the name of Peter, and I do not know how to say that name. Koske? We'll go with that. Van Eyst. Bruegel was his pupil from 1545 and probably to 1550, but on December 6, 1550, Eyst suddenly died. And it just so happened that Bruegel fancied the painter's daughter, and his fondness would end up developing for her over the years. But he's like, I'm going to go follow my career first. So this was the guy that he was, as we know, that he was learning under. So let's see what he decided to do. He's forsaken the relationship right now, and he's going to go do some stuff. So it's recorded that Bruegel entered the Antwerp Painters Guild, located in Antwerp, Belgium. Right there, right here in the purple place. In 1551, after his teacher died. And then he was around the age of 26. And due to this, people now they date his birth, because remember, there wasn't a lot known about him at the beginning. So once he got registered over here and entered the Painters Guild, had all his information put in, they found he's 26. So you backtrack 26 years and you realize, okay, so he was born sometime between 1525 and 1530. So here's a picture of Antwerp now. Really cool. It's nice. Makes me want to go. Okay, so the year following his teacher's death, Bruegel became quite adventurous, right? As we said, he entered the Painters Guild, and in 1551 he became a free master of the Guild of St. Luke of Antwerp. He then, after doing that, he set off for Italy and visited Rome. There's Rome. And went to Calabria, Sicily, and back to Rome. Back up we go. And then back up to Antwerp by 1550. There it goes. Now, that was a quick trip. Not really, because he ended up marrying his old apprentice daughter in 1563. So that was, he left in 1551, got back in 1553, 51, 52, 54, 55. So that's 4 years that he's gone doing all this stuff. Of course, you don't have planes back then, so it took a while. So anyway, he did finally marry the lady he loved after he did all his little running around and adventures. And he married her, and then 13 years, he married her 13 years after her father's death. And they soon had 2 children, Peter the Younger and Jan the Elder. I like that name, Miss Jan the Elder. Bruegel and his wife were only married for 6 years due to his untimely death on September 9th, 1569. So yeah, but at least they got 6 years together. And it's said that on his deathbed he asked for the most subversive of the paintings to be burned so that his family would avoid political persecution. Because, he had a lot of messages in there, and there's probably going to be some people offended. So his children grew up to be prominent Flemish painters, but it's believed that they did not learn from their father, clearly, since they were no older than 5 when their father died. And the artwork titled The Painter and the Connoisseur, completed in 1565, is thought to possibly be the only self-portrait of Peter Bruegel. He would have been around 40 years old. So this possibly is a portrait. Don't know. But that's all we got. So let's discuss the artwork real quick. We're already 16 minutes in. I'm so sorry. But we got a lot to talk about. So hopefully this will be a little bit quicker. Okay, so this is the cool part. Let's go through this. This artwork is an oil on panel. So you write that down. It is about 4 feet tall and 5.5 feet wide. So it's pretty big. A lot of people did big artwork back then. It depicts a common festival held in the southern Netherlands called Carnival. That's the title. And Carnival is derived from the Latin, which y'all should know this. I knew how to say this earlier. Carnivarium. I think I got that right. Which means the removal of meat. And often involve ruckus celebrating social disorder and gluttonous consumption of meat and usually alcohol before the beginning of Lent. Okay, so this artwork is a depiction of the day before Lent. That's what most people think. And Bruegel's way of depicting the virtues of Lent in contrast with the satisfaction of worldly pleasures involved with Carnival. In Bruegel's time, the grotesque acts associated with Carnival were known as the devil's work. Here, we see the 2 celebrations, or seasons, contrasted on either side of the painting, coming together in a conflict, sounds like Aflac, coming together in conflict in a comical joust in the foreground of the artwork. Right here. The artwork is very busy, as we saw, as many of his paintings are. His goal is, so if you ever look up other paintings of his, you're going to see just as much stuff usually. It's just people are everywhere. His goal is to get the viewer to search the artwork in an almost Where's Waldo manner. Let's begin examining the details of this artwork and see what we can find. Okay, so we're going to get into some bigger details than what we talked about earlier, and we're going to start kind of interpreting this. On the left side of the painting, there's an inn, and on the right side, there's a church. This juxtaposition, which is a nice fancy word for contrast, essentially, is meant to illustrate the 2 sides of humanity, pleasure and religious chastity, as well as to show the contrast between the 2. So, juxtaposition. On the left, we see the eating of many kinds of meat and people drunk and carousing around. On the right, we see people preparing fish. There's the left, and here's the right, as the tradition with Lent, and helping those in need. And here's the guy down below. And there's the other figure down below as well. And they're helping people in need over here. Now, near the church sit well-behaved children playing with their spinning top and using a whip to keep them going. The church had a saying back then that related the chastening of God to the whipping of the top to keep it upright. So a little whipping, a little chastening keeps you from falling over into sin. We also see some people struggling to go bury their dead right here. That's what that is. Yes, this is a makeshift casket. At least that's what the people that interpret this painting say. And below, beggars and lame being helped. In contrast, Near the inn are rambunctious drunkards following one another in and out in a parade, following the man with pie on his head. So, the scene at the bottom is one of two competing floats as people fall in behind them from either side of the painting. Yes, floats are not a new thing. So let's talk about those floats. To represent Carnival, Bruegel paints a drunken man riding on a barrel. His helmet is a pie. Don't ask me what's sticking out of that because it looks like bird legs to me, but I don't know. The painting represents a common theme in the 16th century Europe, the battle between Carnival and Lent, which, with its humor and witticism, it purposely shows a satirical critique on the conflicts which it brought. On the right side is Lent, depicted as an old frail woman, they say this is a woman, who wears a discarded basket on her head instead of as a helmet. And she's seated on an old chair surrounded by little pretzels crossed over one another to typically, during the church at that time, they would make these like flour, salt, and water or something, maybe some oil. And they represented folded hands in prayer. Her weapon of choice is a baker's paddle with 2 dried fish on it, versus all the meats that they weren't supposed to be eating on the other guy's skewer. There's also more contrast to this artwork than food. On the right side by the church, we see that people are actually concerned with the needy and the poor and the lame. We saw that earlier, right? But on the other side, by the tavern, we see that the needy, poor, and lame are completely ignored. You see them all right here. Nobody is paying them any attention whatsoever. And these people right here, they look pretty sad. I don't know what's going on with them. But they're ignored for the sake of everyone indulging in selfish, worldly pleasures. Okay, remember the game of the spinning top right here? The kids doing the spinning, okay? Well, juxtaposed to that, in contrast, are a group of adults playing a game where they wastefully throw pots in the air. Maybe they're doing like a hot potato thing, or we're going to see who it doesn't hit when it falls. I don't know what they're doing. You never know. And eventually the pots are destroyed as they break upon the ground, a game which has no real value except to destroy something. So there's a contrast there too. In the middle of the painting, though, this is the coolest part of this picture that you might not have even noticed. But if you did, good for you. But it's the most peculiar scene. There's a traveling couple coming into town, and they're not involved with anything going on. Like everybody else was looking around or asking for something or cooking something or involved in something or drinking something or whatever. But they're not involved with anything going on. And he's got a little sword, looks like maybe 2, with him. And so I don't know, they look like strangers. But they're being led by a fool. See right here by his little dress. I'm not saying he's, a fool, but he's actually a fool, a jester who seems to be adamant about leading them toward the carnival side of worldly pleasures and selfish ambitions. Yet the man seems to be gently guiding his wife to the right, and the direction of their feet. If you look at their feet, okay, they're going this way, he's going that way. Would also just suggest that they're not following the temptations of the fool. If we look closely, we will see, though, that though their feet are pointing toward the church, their heads are gazing. See, their heads turn, at least hers is for sure, amidst the licentiousness of those at the carnival. How easily are our good intentions toward obeying the Lord thwarted to the pleasures the world offers us as we look. I mean, how many times do we have good intentions of following Christ and obeying Him, but then something distracts us, tempts us to go toward things we shouldn't? So as we pan out and look at the larger view again, maybe now you're going to notice these people here in this artwork, and really, literally everybody else is busy doing something except this little couple. And if you notice, we can see a lightly colored path that's leading over here toward the church. Don't know if that's on purpose, but I kind of think it is. So this little couple can leave us with some food for thought, as the artwork can be a depiction of the bigger picture of life and the moral choices we must make as we travel through it. Which way will we go when faced with our own temptations? Ta-da! Really cool, huh? I liked this one. This one was pretty neat. Sorry it took so long. So go ahead and take this time to get your art A&E ready for Friday. Go ahead and, glue all your stuff on that you need to, or, draw your lines, get things ready. And make sure all of this got filled out. It should. I know we talked about a lot of stuff, but if you need to rewind it and go listen to anything, go ahead and do that. And I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, despite it being 25 minutes. And hope you enjoy. You're going to have a ton of stuff to pick from when you do your art A&E on the experiment side. So maybe you can experiment with the meaning as well, or juxtapositions, two ideas that are opposed to one another. So be thinking about that, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye.